Hey, 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 yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming by. Really appreciate seeing you. I'm PegLegCraig. And the first thing that I want to deal with is a biblical take on the people that are defaming Charlie Kirk in death, that are celebrating his death, and obviously the people that are involved. Now, in order to do this, I need to put you into my head, which is a really scary place. So I'll hold your hand if you need. But in my head, when someone like this killer is being groomed by a gang, which I suspect he was, now that is my own personal opinion. It is based on what little tidbits of information we've been able to get about a Discord that he was on and the people that he was on with, and a little bit of knowledge from, living a long life in hard places. So let me say that when they're grooming somebody, they make you feel like royalty. They come at you telling you how special you are, how different you are from everybody else. And they use flattery to get them into you. And then once they're inside you, then you become like king for a day. And I mean, I'm not saying just king for a day. I mean, like king for a little while. You feel like that because that's how they treat you, because they want something from you. They want you to do something. And I can trace this back to the Bible. Now, what I'm saying is, I believe personally, in my own opinion, that the shooter was groomed by a group of people who flattered him, made him feel like he was somebody very important, and then had him act on something they wanted, not something he would have wanted for himself or even an idea he would have come up with himself. So, in order to do that, I think we have to go to the first book of the New Testament, Matthew, and we're going to go to verse 14. And we're going to start right at the beginning of the verse. All right, pay attention to this because there is a lesson here. At that time, Herod heard of the fame of Jesus and said unto his servants, This is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do shew forth themselves in him. Verse 3, For Herod had laid hold on John and bound him and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife. For John said unto him, It is not lawful for thee to have her. Let me just stop for 1 second there. Now, John has called out the king for the sin of adultery, fornication, whatever else you want to call it, because Herodias was married to his brother Philip. So just so we understand, John called them out in the highest voice to the highest order. And yeah, he may have been a little bit out out of it that night, but he still did it. And this is what came back at him because of that. And when verse 5, and when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias, her name is Salmon. We found that out later on. Salome, I'm sorry. Danced before them and pleased Herod. Let me do 6 again because I interrupted myself. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias, Salmon, danced before them and pleased Herod, meaning she got him all hyped up. She got him all worked up. If she's dancing before him, uh, that's usually an indication of in a kind of way that would be arousing, let's say. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John the Baptist's head on a charger. Charger is a small, well, not small, it's a thin platter. That's basically where we got the nomenclature head on the silver platter. And the king was sorry. Nevertheless, for the oath's sake, and them which sat with him at meat, he commanded it to be given to her. And he sent and beheaded John in the prison. And his head was brought in a charger and given to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother. And the disciples came and took up the body and buried it and went and told Jesus. Now, this same story is echoed in Matthew 6:17, or Matthew chapter 6. I think it's 17 to 29. Okay. Now, these are the kind of people that we're dealing with now. God says there's nothing new under the sun. I mean, obviously, Charlie's death hurt everybody, you know, me and I mean, the whole country. There's so much of us turning back to faith because of Charlie. And at this point, it is important to understand the enemy. And the enemy is people who groom, like, Salmon's mother, Herodes, and people who are sitting in a position of royalty. And again, it doesn't have to be that they're actually a king or in charge of anything. What it is someone that they make feel like they are an important person. Okay, so you can understand the layout of that. And that, unfortunately, is what led to this young man going out there and taking Charlie's life. And in my opinion, solidly in my opinion, I want that, stated for the record, because I don't have the evidence to back it up, but I'm an old guy. I've seen this kind of thing happen before, and I want people to understand what we are up against. What kind of daughter gives the head of a man to her mother as a gift? I mean, the mother asked for it, don't get me wrong. And it's also claimed by Josephus, I believe, that she was caught kissing the head because John was her beloved and she was killed later. I don't know that to be the truth, but um, that's part of the story. But anyway, this is the kind of ruthless, bloodthirsty mob that we are dealing with. And we have to deal with them in terms of authority. We cannot let them be allowed to harm us without repercussion. Now, having said that, one thing that really upset me today was finding out how many people were upset with Erica Kirk for forgiving the young man, and I never named the killers. I'm sorry. I am not adding to their fame in any way, shape, or form. How upset they were for her to forgive him. Well, let's also go back a couple of chapters in Matthew. Let's go to 6:15, and my producer doesn't have this, so I'm just going to try and read it. I say it as best I can. But if ye forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. I believe I said that right. But if ye forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. So you understand that if you don't forgive even the most heinous person, now wait a minute. All right, I'm going to get to it. I know I could feel your tempers flaring up. Give me a minute. You have to forgive everything because Jesus does forgive everything upon repentance. Now, killers, they say they can't really be forgiven sort of on earth, but if they repent, that's between them and God after that. But again, I want you to understand something. Forgiveness does not mean that they should not be punished to the full extent of the law, and especially to death, because because God tells us in Leviticus that that's what you do with killers. Send them to me. I'll take care of it. That's what God told us to do. Okay. I am a pastor. If I were to deal with this person, I would have to forgive him, and I would forgive him while we're walking up the hallway to put him in front of the firing squad. And once we're there, I would give him a last rites before they do it. And then after they shoot him, and I would be happy to hold one of the guns and do it myself. And then afterwards, I would perform a funeral for him. because that's what we have to do. But it does not mean that they walk scot-free. It does not mean that they face no repercussion just because they are forgiven. That's between God and the person. If your sins are truly repentant in your heart, that's for God to decide, not us. So please give Erica Kirk a break, because in the area of forgiveness, she is being a better Christian than you are if you don't. And I mean, it's God's own word, right? I gave you Matthew 6:15, right? So you have to remember that. But also remember what we're dealing with here. And we're not just dealing with uh, you know, these people individually. Like, this killer is, in my mind, in my opinion, a patsy. All right. He was someone that they pulled into it and they got him to do this. Now, I'm not buying all these crazy conspiracy theories that are going around. And believe me, I love a good conspiracy theory. I believed in many of them. I've watched many of them come true, ones that I fought for and believed in. But I think some of the conspiracy around this, some of the conspiracy theories just don't add up and don't hold water. If someone's got a good one that they want to send me, then you know the appropriate place to do it. But people have to remember now, we are living in a time where our leaders are becoming like children, as the Bible told us they would, and that Christians have to hold firm to their faith. We cannot give up Jesus Christ for the sake of the traditions of men. The traditions of men is vengeance and hate and this and that. We don't have to do that. We are better than that. When you saw the riots over a certain person getting killed a few years ago, and you saw how cities burned, you saw when Trump won the presidency the first time, how riots and cities burned. Well, there was a lot more fires over Charlie Kirk's passing than there were there, but they were all on candles and they were controlled by people with good hearts and decency in their hearts. And Charlie's passing has brought a revival like I have never, ever seen in my life. He was an amazing man, and I never really gave him credit while he was alive for how amazing he was, because I knew him on a surface level, kind of like everybody else. You know, I never met the man. I've never actually been to a TPU event. But what I do know about him is, from studying him, that he was a great defender of the faith, and that it is incumbent upon us to be the same way. We have to be defenders of our faith. It is critically important in this time, because we are not interested in trying to condemn souls to hell. We are interested in trying to get these people that are suddenly waking up from this vapor that they've been in, this horrifying circumstance. And God does say that He would give strong delusion to people as actually kind of a means of protecting their soul. But we'll get into the gulf and how that works another show. But for right now, these people under strong delusion, some people are waking up. Some people are coming out of this. Some people are feeling something. And it is very important that we nurture and foster it. As Christians, we want our enemies to become our friends. We want them to be brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ. And it's what you should want. Now, again, I believe in ridicule. I believe in I've been tweeting all week every scumbag that came up with some, nasty use of phrase or some nasty way of talking about Charlie Kirk. Yeah. But I want to get into one other thing about that, because Pam Bondi really, really messed up this week. All right. Hate speech is protected speech, because there was a time when they were calling our speech hate speech, and it's protected First Amendment speech. The government has no right to go after you at all. But you have every right as an American consumer to go after the business that employs these people, because it's the right thing to do. We want to teach them how we want to be treated. We're not just going to accept, just like we did with the Barrel thing. We told them, we're not accepting this. We don't want to be a part of this, and you cannot coerce us into being a part of this. So getting back to Charlie Kirk, it was a moving ceremony today. A lot of people said, well, it seemed like a political rally and whatnot. I think it was exactly what Charlie Kirk would have wanted. I think he would have wanted people to come together. I think he would have wanted people to hear Erica's testimony, hear um, Mr. Trump speak. And I was a little concerned that Trump might get off the tracks, and he didn't at all. I mean, when he brought up something that seemed unrelated to Charlie, it always came back to Charlie. Like, we might not be having this new progress in dealing with autism had Charlie Kirk not put RFK Jr. together with Mr. Trump in Arizona, as he stated in his speech. And it's a great thing for all of us that this has occurred, because I think that a lot of good is going to come out of this. And right now, I don't see this as the absolute end times. I'm sorry. I know that upsets a lot of people. I think we are entering it, but we are definitely not quite six seal worthy yet. We are at the point now where people are beginning to reveal, we are having the skin pulled off the onion, and we get to understand what it really stinks like. When we were younger, we never believed all these things about Hollywood. I mean, some people did, obviously, but it wasn't a common nomenclature to despise celebrities, and that celebrities despised us. We knew the news was skewed to the left, but we didn't know that it was skewed to the left in such a degree that they would eventually be doing things like they're doing now to obfuscate and to deflect in any way that this is from trans ideology. And look, there are a lot of killer trans people. For the percentage of the population that they fill up, I do believe their numbers of violence are far higher than even like they say, well, the disparity between blacks and whites. Well, I think it's far higher than black folks in the city, because they are this tiny little percentage of the population. And yet we keep hearing about them doing violence all the time. And it's not just violence against churches and against figures like Charlie Kirk, it is also violence against the average person, a person who crosses them in the wrong way. The Zizian cult, for example. There was a guy, they tried to kill the man. He actually got stabbed, I believe, with a sword, and still shot the guy and killed one of them. And they weren't going to let that go until they killed him, and eventually they did, uh, allegedly. So we're talking about a lot more trans violence. About 2 weeks ago, there was a guy who is of a trans persuasion that opened a window and harmed a baby in an intimate way, you could say, so badly that this child will probably have problems for the rest of their life. All right, we see, the SLC group, trans group, and they're arming up, you know, and they want war with us. Now, they're not big enough to make war with us. We will take them down. But what I want to see happen is the authorities, because remember, Romans 13:4, sometimes it comes down to a person, but it is written in the Bible uh, that for he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. That's the government's responsibility. When God is saying that, Matthew, the 13th chapter, is all about the responsibilities of government. But when we're dealing with a response time where it may take minutes for police to get there when seconds really count, then we have to rely on our own authority. Because at that point, we are the minister of God, because we're the only thing standing between evil and innocence. And we should never forget that, and we should stick to it. And if you have a license to carry a gun, then make sure that you carry it, and make sure you carry it to churches, especially. Make sure you carry it to religious functions, any kind of conservative function. If you have a license to carry, do not carry a gun illegally. Do not go there intending to shoot anybody. Go there knowing that your gun is a deterrent, or that it may be necessary in time of emergency. I can tell you that my church is very safe, and I can tell you one of the reasons why is because I go there. And I'm not afraid to say that. I am reverend, and I have no problem with, you know, uh, killing somebody who tries to kill us first. It's not our job as Christians to be submissive and weak and to just stand there and be victims and to be bullied by these guys. One of the things that bothers me most about everything is when I see these conservative rallies where I see people that are on the conservative side and they're getting bullied by groups of Antifa. Well, we need to handle this better. We need more security. Personally, I don't have a beef with some Proud Boys being around at every conservative rally to be able to hit back on our behalf if that becomes necessary. Because no, if they don't mean deadly force, I don't intend to shoot them. Although, it could happen. I'm an old man and someone could punch me and I could die very easily, although I doubt it. Um, but if I'm defending my life, then I'm defending my life. But if it's just, like the old bully stuff, then we need other people there that are capable of handling those bullies. And it doesn't have to be the Proud Boys. It doesn't have to be this group or that group or any other group. What it has to be is it has to be people who have the stones, who can gird up in a time of need and do what needs to be done. We are not victims. We are not fodder for the left. We are not going to sit there and take it anymore. Everybody right now should be worrying about working out, making themselves as strong as they possibly can, perhaps learning how to fight if you never had to in your whole life. I've known how to fight since I was a kid. That was one of the first things my father taught me. I wasn't very good at it until I grew up, and then I got really great at it for all the wrong reasons, unfortunately. But those lessons haven't left me now, and now I can use them for all the right reasons. By the way, as an aside here, that's one of the character conflicts that Rev faces in Crossing Corpses, which is my audio show. It's an audio play. It's not just an audio book. It's like a movie inside your head. And you see how a Christian, a Bible toting Christian, and many other Christians along with them deal with violence. And it's you who get to make that decision on how you should be. It is people thrust into the zombie apocalypse, which to me was an allegory for how the right has to deal with the left today. And as a part of that, I wrote this and I produced it and I did it all on my own. And I'm not here holding out hands for money. I'm here asking you to listen to it because, for one thing, entertainment sucks now. Most everything is dominated by the wokies or, making men into inferior beings and cucks and everything else. That's disgusting. It's tired. It's cliche now. So now we need to open up new forms of entertainment. And I, at the very least, during the time when all of this was going on, I was giving it my best to try and entertain you in a way that you could understand, with Christian heroes who don't mind quoting Bible verses and who don't mind praying, dropping to their knees and showing submission to God, and yet showing dominance over an enemy that would attack them. So I'm asking you to give it a shot. Now, you know me, if you've watched my show, I almost never do this. Okay, but to me now it's become important for us to maybe see it in more of an entertainment light so that we can understand, we can see a story unfold where why these people make the decisions they make. And I'm not asking you to say whether they're right or wrong. Well, you can. That's your own mind to judge. I'm not telling you these people are right or wrong. I'm giving you them. I'm giving you how they handle it. I'm giving you Bible verse that goes with it, and you make the decision from there. Who it is for you, your pastor, your church, your family. Okay. But in this day and age, we have very few heroes now that will bow a knee to God and show submission to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for all the things that he has done for us, for all the suffering that he bared on that cross for us. And now we can't even pay homage to him in entertainment anymore. So I'm trying my best to shake it up as best I can. All right. But getting away from that, Besides Erica's forgiveness, there was a lot of beautiful things that happened today at that rally, and one of them was something that it reminded me a lot of Jesus Christ washing the feet of his disciples and how unworthy they felt. And if I could just get that picture to show up, I would feel so much better. Uh, can we get the yeah, there we go. Wow. I'm with Real Cawthorn. That's Madison Cawthorn and DJ Daniel right now. When DJ saw that Madison's shoes were untied, he made sure to tie themselves. I think he meant tie themselves or whatever. Americans are done with the left's division. God bless Madison and God bless DJ. Now, DJ Daniels is constantly fighting tumors growing in his body, and he just fought off three new ones that happened recently. I'm. Can they hear that? I can't. I can't tell, producer. Yeah. Okay. So there you see. Oh, okay. It had no sound. So there you see something there that this is a very Christian thing to do, to watch after one another. Yeah, the guy's not going to get up and probably trip over his shoelaces anytime soon, but it is courteous, it is respect, it is kindness, it is sweetness. And if you look how touched everybody around him is, especially Madison Cawthorn himself, you know, it's a beautiful thing. This is who we are. We are not who the left makes us out to be, and we should never act like what the left makes us out to be. We are beautiful souls in Christ. Oh, yeah, we're ugly and we're sinners and we do a lot wrong and the flesh is vile and every day. But every Christian, every day, who fights the flesh and pulls themselves up and does things that are good for people, these are the people that we aspire to be. And every Christian should. And I love each and every one of you for your best efforts. I fall short many times, and I try my absolute best not to, but I do. And when I fall short, I repent like I have never repented. And I try to make sure that it is not the same sin over and over again. A lot of times, I don't even realize in the moment that I'm sinning because now I've taught myself something very different to do. I close my eyes and I go, eyes of Jesus. And when I close my eyes, I can see a picture of Jesus in front of me on my eyelids. And I see his eyes looking at me doing this horrible thing. And then I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to explain that to him on the white throne judgment? That you were right there and I'm looking right at you and I asked you to increase grace because I wanted to sin in my selfishness. We can't be those people. We have to be these people, the type of people that look after our own, that take care of our own, that love our own. There are plenty of us who have prayed for DJ Daniel, and I have done this on this show so many times already to keep praying for DJ Daniel's continued recovery. And this is part of the reason why. This is exemplary. The type of children that we are trying to save from these groomers, these sickos, these people that want to read disgusting stories to them, these people that want to perform in front of them in thongs and have kids put dollars in them. Again, last week I said I wouldn't want a stripper to be with a bunch of boys and reading them stories and then putting dollars in her G string, even though that's heteronormative. It's not. It's disgusting. And I would be the first one railing against it if we were the ones doing this. But we're not. It's them. And they're trying to bring our children to the point where they have no resistance to the abominations, the many smoking abominations that they teach. So let's be strong against that. And let's start fighting back. Let's start pushing back against this. When I say fighting back, I don't mean go looking for a brawl, go shooting anybody, go doing anything harmful in that way. We fight back the way we've been fighting back since Charlie died. We stay together. We get more focused on God, community, family. And the one thing that we do above all else is we fight them on their battlefields, boycotting companies, exposing people who would act in a certain way. Now, people say, well, so what? They say they don't care about Charlie Kirk dying. Well, let's think about that for a minute. If they're a nurse professional and you go in there with a cross on, okay, are you going to want that person to take care of you? Do you think that person is going to give you the best care possible? Do you trust them? You don't. If you work in a company and somebody in that company hates people like you, do you think that they're above tainting the coffee with bodily fluids or some other disgusting thing to get at you? It's happened before. If someone is a truck driver and they hated the whole Charlie Kirk thing and they see you going by in a van that has religious symbols on the side, maybe you've even painted a mural of Charlie Kirk to remember it. I've seen that on a couple of vans already today. What do you think might happen? So I'm not saying that we go on, that it should be just a witch hunt based on free speech. I'm saying that these people, if they intend harm to us, then we have to stop them in advance. So there's nothing wrong with what's going on, and I am contributing as much as I can, and I am tweeting as many people out as I possibly can, and showing them for the vile people that they are. The daughter of Herodes, Salmon. This is who they are. They're bloodthirsty maniacs. They will not stop until we are dead, and we are not going to lay down and roll over for them. Because I know the people that listen to this show are good, hard, solid Americans, a lot of military, a lot of first responders, and I hear you and I love you and I thank you. So, anyway, let's try and move on from this a little bit. And again, just one more look at DJ there. It was just absolutely beautiful. Now, what we want to do here now is we want to shame the left into, seeing this. This was a popular clip shown everywhere for a while until I don't know. It's just stopped after a while, and I guess it ran its course. So I cannot get a thing to show up, producer. The baddies, are we the baddies? Well, this is the question. I mean, we want them to realize that they are the baddies. Even if you hated Charlie Kirk and you hated everything he said, he didn't lead no revolution against you. He didn't come after you with anything other than words. And they are so weak in their position and in their beliefs, which are nothing, that they can't even handle contrarian words. And again, can't handle contrarian words takes a lot of forms. If you can walk away from it, if you can scroll past it, you're doing just fine. But if you can't, and you have to do something punitive over words. Now, I'm not talking about condemning people to death or making threats or anything else. I mean, over different positions than you hold. If you can't condemn people over that, I mean, if you can't get past people condemning you, I mean, you can't get past the people you condemn over that. You can't get past the fact that those words, you turn the words into a term like violence, even though words aren't violence. These people talk about anti fascism. Let them go see what Italy was like under Mussolini. Let them live under what Nazi Germany was like under Hitler. It is nothing like today. It is nothing. Words do not do that. The only way that words start to hurt is when you see that these people don't care about life and death. And there is no Christian alive who is a good Christian who doesn't care about life and death. And there isn't one Christian, well, there are, but there shouldn't be a Christian in the world who doesn't care more about bringing a soul over to us and away from the filth and the darkness that they dwell in right now and into the light with us where we can all hold hands and we can all be together. And yeah, I know that sounds a little, oh, ho, ho, ho. But you know what? It is our goal. It is our duty to God. It is obedience to Christ. So please, let us never forget that. All right, it took a little longer with that than I had originally intended to, but I think it's important. And I think it is very important that we do what we can now to fight back against this. We cannot allow it. Now, getting into that, I'm going back to um, uh, uh, about 2 weeks ago. I rattled off the list of all New Jersey teachers who have been arrested for diddling our kids. And again, I cannot get that up, producer. I am sorry. This woman, I believe we have the article handy too, do we? Um, yeah, here we go. Okay, Freehold, New Jersey. Superior Court Judge Jill Grace O'Malley handed down a pair of significant rulings in the criminal case of Allison Haverman Niederach, a former Freehold Borough teacher accused of multiple sex crimes against one of her eighth grade students. The judge ruled that the testimony from the victim's mother could be admitted at trial, New Jersey's fresh complaint doctrine. At the same time, she suppressed certain statements Haverman Niederach made to law enforcement at the time of her arrest, finding they were obtained without proper Miranda warnings. Okay, so that was a judge trying to have it both ways. Haverman Niederach sat quietly alongside her defense attorney, Matthew Mortis, as Judge O'Malley delivered her detailed explanation of the rulings. Across the aisle, Monmouth County Assistant Prosecutor Danielle Zanzuki also listened intently before joining Mortis and the judge in chambers for a private conference after the decision was read. So, what we have here, that's enough, producer. I'm sorry. Can we go back to the picture of this freak? Um, all right. This sick person not only groomed children, but actually had sex with them. All right. This is a follow up. Again, I'm going to follow up on every teacher that was on that list that I rattled off. And we have it in a past video. As a matter of fact, I even clipped it out. I clipped it out myself without my producer's help, even. And I want to share it with everybody. All right. So you know how many perverts there are that we know of in New Jersey that were teaching our children and are now charged with this, because this is all a part of the war that we are fighting. If they bring up our next generation to become like them, freakish with no rules, no morals, loose sexuality, you can be whatever you want, transhuman as you want, whenever you want, well, then we're going to bring up another generation of degenerates. And we have to stop that. And we have to stop it now. Even millennials really didn't get that way until they got a little older, because they were spoiled children. Gen Z, same thing. They were spoiled children. But now we are putting this freak into kids, this demon into children at age 3, 4, 5, and right on up, elementary school age. It's too much. We cannot allow it to continue. And if you are not fighting school boards, even if you don't have a child in that school, if it's in your district, if you are not fighting school boards, you are not looking out for your future. You're not looking out for the future of your grown children, because these are the people that will be taking care of them when they get older. Let's not forget that, please. So I will be following up. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do a content piece on her this week. I've gathered a bunch of information, but I didn't have it ready for showtime. So, we'll go back to Niederach, so to speak. Now, another thing this week, I know this isn't like the Charlie Kirk thing, but this was important to me. Asmongold. I know a lot of you saying Asmongold. What's this about? Well, Asmongold is a streamer, and he's a very fair, down the middle type of guy. Yeah, he bans some people from his chats and whatnot because they're spamming things, or they're going too far here or something like that. But for the most part, he's open to people's free speech, and he is a wonderful commentator. He was a great ally to President Trump. Even though he wasn't intending to be an ally, it just happened that the positions that Trump were espousing fell into what Asmongold saw as a good category. And he's covered Trump positive and negative, and we're talking about the Pam Bondi thing, and I'll get back to that in a minute. But for right now, I want to say that as a fan of Asmongold, with whatever parasocial relationship we have, my deepest, most heartfelt condolences on him losing his father. His father used to be so much fun when he'd call in, and like Asmon said in the video today, lamenting his father's passing, he was hard as nails, and he was a soldier in Vietnam. So he came from an era that a lot of people today don't even understand. So I want to say my deepest condolences. And I think it was moving, the video, but this is even a moving tweet. A few days ago, my father passed away. It's difficult for me to even find the words for the emptiness it leaves me with. He was my last family member in the state, and I was there with him until the end. I will endure, but I don't think I'll ever be the same. I love you, Pa. And there's Asmon as a kid with his father. I think probably how he wants to remember him best, you know. And it's a beautiful thing. And I'm sorry that this happened, Asmon, but the man did live to 78, which is fantastic. He had a very good run. And I'm not going to speculate on what happens to him after, because it is not our place to do that. But I will say that the impact on Asmon, I think we will see an even more grown up Asmongold now than before. And he's been pretty grown up, and he's not afraid to say what he thinks, whether it's popular or not. There's plenty of times I get frustrated with him watching some of his videos, but I tolerate it because I know that this is a guy that has insight. And sometimes even the things that frustrate me about him, you know, were also very important. They were things that, even though maybe he didn't change my mind about them, he did open my mind to the arguments about them. So, Asmon, you're a wonderful guy. You're great fun to listen to. You were a big help to me when I was convalescing. I enjoyed hearing your voice and listening to your shows. And I'm sorry that this happened. And as far as his dad, like I said, I'll miss him calling in. I'll miss Asmon calling his dad up to ask him a certain thing here and there. It was all good stuff. So, rest in peace, sir. Now, moving on. Tim Kramer. Last week, I asked everybody to pray for Tim Kramer. He's now, when I used to hang out on Axe Truth, I was one of the choppers. I was a sort of producer for his show, but not the kind that did anything to help it or with material or anything. I used to donate money to his show and try my best to do everything I could to keep it alive. When we were all on D Live together, I used to buy memberships for everybody under the sun. And back then I was working at a good job and I could afford to do it. And not only that, I was happy to do it. But Tim Kramer was someone that I came in contact with originally on Asmongold. My producer mentioned him recently, and last week we asked that you pray for Tim Kramer because his wife is terminal, and it really doesn't seem like there's anything stopping it. She knows she has a set amount of time, and Tim took some time with her. They went to visit people that they would be seeing for the last time. And you could see that it was hurtful to him. But one of the things that she told him, and she's still alive, one of the things that she told him is he has to keep doing what he's doing because his work is important. And to me, it's important too. Can we roll that clip, producer?
People didn't used to lose their jobs because of what they said online. Didn't used to. Until the Democrats said, hey, we don't like what they said. They should lose their job.
You shouldn't be banned from one platform and not others for providing misinformation out there.
There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
There are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda, and whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrent.
If people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick, and has an agenda, and they're putting out disinformation.
Just look at it all.
Our First Amendment stands as a major block. It's really hard to govern today.
This is a matter of corporate responsibility. Twitter should be held accountable and shut down that site. It is a matter of safety and corporate accountability.
The First Amendment is not absolute. It does not protect any single thing anyone says. And there are limits, and that's important. And what this committee has been trying to do for the last year and a half is to chill the federal government from monitoring what is going on social media.
When you look at what Tucker Carlson and some of these other folks on Fox do, it is very, very clearly incitement of violence. Very clearly incitement of violence. I believe that when it comes to broadcast television, like Fox News, these are subject to federal law, federal regulation in terms of what's allowed on air and what isn't.
So my biggest concern is that your view has the First Amendment hamstringing the government in significant ways.
I think it's odd that Democrats were using their speech to convince people that they shouldn't have free speech, that free speech was far too dangerous. The power of speech is bigger than the power of the gun. A gun cannot convince you to change your mind, but a conversation can. And that's why speech is so fucking dangerous for the Democrats.
Now, that's the kind of guy Tim Kramer is. I encourage everybody to follow him on Twitter. You can see his handle right there. Kramer Says. And, he's a guy who was a great ally to Trump in getting him elected, has been a great ally, and has also called out some of the things that he doesn't like, which I think is fair and I think is good. But we need to support this guy because not only is his work important, but he's going through a lot as a family man, as a husband, as a human being. And, I hope that he keeps churning this out because his work is important. And we should all respect it and admire it. Well, as much as you do. Now, next, I want to take a moment now. Let's take a breath, because the one thing that I have encouraged everybody to do since I began this show is, yes, we need to fight the war. Yes, we need to spend time on social media fighting the war in spite of what Governor Cox says. But we also need to be good to ourselves. We have to remember that there are good and beautiful things in this world. And one of them is right here with the 90s Plus Club. A special milestone celebration in Manchester, New Jersey. Mayor Joseph Hankins and his aide Judy Noonan, and I have no idea if they're Democrats or Republicans, but this is still something good, joined the Cedar Glen Lakes community for their annual 90-plus luncheon, honoring more than 30 residents who have reached the incredible milestone of 90 years or older. Each honoree was recognized with a proclamation celebrating their wisdom, resilience, and lifelong contributions. Manchester Township is proud to be home of one of the largest senior populations in the state, and even producer to celebrate their legacy. That last line threw me a little bit. But look, we're celebrating people who have lived it, who have seen the world change so much. I mean, if you're like my age, I'm pushing 60 at this point, you think you've seen the world change so much, but they got 30 more years of that than you. And the things that they've seen were, far greater than the things that we've seen. And they do have a great deal of wisdom. And I encourage everybody, if you have time and you have the ability, volunteer your time with senior citizens, not just for them, although I really think that you should. I think it's something that we owe them because of their wisdom. But it's not because of what they've experienced and what they've lived through. But more importantly, it's something for you, because there is so much you can learn from somebody who has lived under different circumstances and much longer on this earth than you. So let's give a little bit of love out to the seniors. And like I said, again, if you can volunteer somewhere, I try to when I can. I certainly, have no problems with performing chaplain services for them. and I don't have a problem, helping out where I can and volunteering and knowing how to deal with certain people when they get in certain states, because it can be very depressing sometimes. So, that's our job as people. Now, usually I end the show with doing my end closing, but today we're going to end the show with something a little different. Um, a testimony from someone who flies in the face of people who see Charlie Kirk as a racist. And we're going to do her testimony in a minute, but I'm going to sign out of the show right now. And I'm going to ask you to pray for me, because I am most certainly praying for you. And I'm going to ask you to pray for the Kirk family. I'm going to ask you to pray for the United States. I'm going to ask you to pray that this original renaissance of Christianity keeps going and gets stronger and stronger every day. The more hearts we can chain together under Christ, the more freedom that we all have. Because he takes away all the sin, all the darkness, all the wickedness inside us all. So I'm going to ask you to be like this woman right here. Roll it.
Let's just talk about it, because respectfully, a lot of y'all getting on my nerves. Let me tell you something about myself. I am probably one of the best people on this earth to speak on Charlie Kirk, to speak on his beliefs and what he preached, what he said, his messages. You want to know why? Because I've been in almost every field that y'all claim he's against. As you can see, I'm black. Blizzy black. Do you hear me? I'm a woman. I am a female. But y'all claim he is a sexist. Guess what else that I was? I was a member of the rainbow community, the alphabet community. For over 10 years of my life, I consider myself to be lesbian. You see this little white stuff on my shirt right here? You want to know what that is? It's baby throw up. You want to know why it's baby throw up? Because the Lord has blessed me with a husband and 3 kids after I gave my life to him, was filled with the Holy Spirit and born again. But you want to tell me, you hear that sweet voice? You want to tell me I was never meant to or never should have had any of this and should have continued to walk in the deception that was a part of my life. Get out of here. I support and approve much of what Charlie Kirk said because I lived it. I went through it, and I testify that doing things God's way is better, that me being black never was a hindrance, and that me being a woman is totally fine. You want to know why? I have a master's degree and I choose to be a stay-at-home mother. Oh, that's going to tick somebody off, ain't it? Yup, I sit at home all day with my 3 kids, taking care of them because my family will forever be more important than my career. But wait, that's not all. Let me include this really important detail. When I was 4 years old, my dad was unalived just a month before my 5th birthday. So don't come into my comments saying I had more opportunities than this person or that person. I was raised by a single mother who worked in a factory till this day. So get out of here. Okay? We do what we choose to do. Stop making excuses. Listen to Charlie Kirk and understand that through the power of God, through the power of Jesus Christ, you can be more than conquerors. In Black community, you want to know what's really wrong with us? We ran away from Jesus and ran to the government. Yeah.
Well, that was beautiful. And, I certainly adore this woman. And I hope that we can take a little bit of her message and realize that no matter what kind of sinners we are, we can come back to Christ. And now is the time. This is a revival like no other revival in American history, because there are more people involved in more geographic locations than anybody. And you can tell me what you want, but social media plays a huge part in that. So don't let Governor Cox tell you to get it off. The other thing is, Pam Bondi's got to go. I just wanted to get this in at the end again. Pam Bondi has got to go. I'm sorry. I want to be alliance with everybody right now, but she's handling this all wrong, and she's putting us in a position where if they ever get back into power, they are going to destroy us because they will use that hate speech that she brings up. And if you don't think they can come back into power, just remember how dead the Republicans were until Trump showed up. Anyway, pray for me. I'm praying for you. Jesus love you. May grace walk with you. Good night, everybody.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. I'll identify these people, who they are and what they're doing, because one of them gets a deadly wound. And the beast which I saw was likened to a leopard. That's one that changes spots. That's your Kenite. And his feet were as the feet of a bear. That'll take in Roosh. And his mouth is the mouth of a lion, his tearing, and the dragon, who? Satan himself, the old dragon, gave him his power and his seat. What again does this word seat mean? Throne. The dragon himself gives the one world government its throne. That means its power. You might wonder, many people would say, well, how could all these nations from Tahiti, from Bahrain to Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Yemen, how could all of them at the same time rise up? They got something in common, my friend. And we're talking about somebody that's going to give it a throne. Not just a seat, a throne. What happens then? Verse 3. And I saw one of the heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Who healed that wound? Well, read the next verse. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him? The one world government, you can't make war with that. Why? There's no government to go against it. It consumes the world, but not God's elect. This is where you got to understand, and this is why you got to have strong faith, is to know as long as God is with you, who can be against you? Nobody. As long as you are armed with the sword of the Lord, the truth, and you understand what's happening in the world, God protects you. You and He make a majority, and you can count on that. You can believe it.